Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crossing Borders. I'm Mike Ginn. That's the extreme one, Alex Soto, back in action to talk about some action all south of the border in Mexico, Mexican MMA. Of course, before we get to that, head over to FightersFirst.shop. Take care of a little bit of the business. Get the Extremo collection. Get the Crossing Borders shirts. FightersFirst.shop. Let our apparel be a part of your story. Alex, it's been a few weeks. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I've been doing fantastic, man. But here in San Diego with, the perfect weather out here. But how have you been out there in Florida, man? What the hell's going on over there?
Look, it was like 3 bad days. Right now it's 85 and sunny. What do you want?
All right. Okay. That's a good one.
Look, Fort Myers, the area surrounding that, South Sarasota County got wrecked, like completely wrecked from Hurricane Ian.
How far is that from you?
About an hour and a half south.
Okay.
We got the power knocked out for a little bit, came a little bit more inland, so we got a little bit more hit than like the rest of Tampa because I'm actually east of Tampa a little bit. So I get protected a little bit from the city and from the water and stuff. Like we don't get any storm surge, we don't get any of that stuff. We get a lot of the rain and wind, and that's what happened. If you go around certain neighborhoods, you see power poles broken in half, down trees everywhere.
Wow.
But for the most part, the city where I live, things are fine. Power came back on after like 3 or 4 days, and after that, I think they lost in my area alone, it was like 297,000 people out with power, and they've got 97% of that back already. So everything's pretty much back to normal now.
Good. Just a few days in. Just a few days of an inconvenience.
Yeah, look, I told everybody we're fine. I wasn't trying to be like hyperbole, like, oh my God, we're getting a hurricane, and I don't take it seriously. I took it seriously. I knew we'd be out with power for a few days.
Okay.
But I knew we weren't getting a direct hit no matter which way the storm came. So it is what it is. By the time it got to us, it was like Hurricane 1, tropical depression, or tropical storm. And then, of course, it geared back up and hit South Carolina and some other stuff. So it was a pretty nasty storm, did a lot of damage. But luckily, we weren't really in the direct path. So
good.
All right.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
But, Alex, we're not here to talk about Hurricane Ian. That's gone. We're going to talk about the next storm, which is heading straight for Mexico next week. And I'm not even talking about the tropical storm, which actually really is going for Mexico next week.
Okay. No, I did see that. Yeah.
There's no name for it. I can't name it yet. It's just like Tropical Storm 13 or some weird number.
It's on the West Coast.
As of right now, when we're recording this show on Thursday, your daily weather report says that currently the storm is over top of Venezuela, and it is heading for the most part, southern Mexico, Central America.
Hey, that's exactly where I'm going next week.
Yeah. Because you're going to be in Puebla.
That's right. Yeah, I'm going to be south of Mexico City, man.
So I'm going to ask you next week how you're feeling, or in a couple weeks. No show next week, but in a couple weeks after you travel and come back and tell us all about LUX Fight League 27. I'll be asking, hey man, how was the storm?
Oh man, well hopefully there's no storm actually hitting, but there's only storm inside the cage. I want to see some knuckles flying and some fists flying, so that'll be good to see.
Well, there will be, because at LUX Fight League 27, what we're here to talk about, the return of the king, the flyweight king, Alessandro Nono Costa, back in action. Of course, he had his little stint in Dana White Contender Series. He got the win, but didn't get the contract. Bad for him, but good for us, right? Because we get to see the king back in action in a LUX Fight League cage. Going against Carlos Kuriju Gomez. That's going to be the main event. You also got Edgar Delgado versus Walter Reyes. You got Drago Camargo. You got Tarzan Alberto. A lot of guys we've talked about a lot over the last year. So it's going to be a fun, exciting card down in Puebla on the 14th, and that's what we're here to break down and preview for you. Alex, let's jump right into that main event. We got Alessandro Costa back in action versus Carlos Kuriju, kind of a newer name as far as LUX Fight League goes. We knew Kiki Gonzalez and Jorge Manzano stuff were supposed to go for the interim title. That fight didn't happen because of a weight cut issue with Kiki, and then the other party just didn't want to do it. So here comes Carlos Gomez, the guy who most recently fought in Samurai Fight House. He's 6-2, ranked number 38 in Latin America, but he is coming off a loss, which is kind of awkward to get a title shot. But he won 5 in a row before that. But never really fought in any of the big leagues. Never fought in Combate, never fought in UWC, never fought, obviously, in LUX. So he's a new name coming in, 25 years old, a bantamweight fighting out of Paraguay. So here's a new face to Luke's Fight League going against the reigning king, Alessandro Costa. Of course, Costa's last fight was against Martinetti. Got the win in Dana White's Contender Series. Before that, Kiki Gonzalez, Jorge Calvo Martin, Solorzano, just a number of names he's just run through in Luke's Fight League. Alex, I'm just going to ask you right off the bat, what can we expect other than Costa just coming in and wrecking shop against a guy who doesn't have that level of experience?
Yeah, it's a very interesting matchup. I agree with you there. When these kind of things happen, I mean, first of all, Alessandro Costa has fought everybody in the weight division at 125 pounds. So I think I think Nono Acosta's team is just trying to get him busy, trying to get him going, stay active, keep the year active. And in comes in Carlos Kuriju, I think is how they're saying it. And I looked up Kuriju, the nickname. It means the green anaconda. That's like what Kuriju is. So he's an anaconda. And I was looking at some of the video from this kid.
A lot of submissions.
A lot of submission wins, right? Yeah. And he's always constantly doing the guillotine off of the takedown. He's trying to, in the scramble, he's ready to fall into that guillotine choke. So, Costa has to watch out for that. He's got to watch out for this young kid who's got nothing to lose.
But isn't that right up Costa's alley? Isn't that what he does? He's a jiu-jitsu master.
He's a master, man. He's a master at that, and he's a master at hands, man. He's got some crazy fists that will fly. So, yeah, this is going to be looking definitely an uphill battle here for the newcomer who'll be showing up, and it'll be the biggest lights he's ever seen up against a really, really tough opponent. So, those from Paraguay, though, this will be the first. I don't think I've seen another fighter from Paraguay showing up to Luke's Fight League.
Hey,
I don't know.
Gotta be somebody first. Maybe he makes an impact. Maybe he sticks around. By the way, I accidentally said I messed up for a second ago. I said it was Kiki and Manzano was actually Jorge Calvo. Not
Jorge Calvo.
Manzano. Yeah. Look, I agree with you. I think Costa's just trying to stay busy. I think he comes off that Dana White Contender Series fight, which now has been a while ago. That was back in July. Mm-hmm. So here we are now in September, October. How long can you sit around? The division's been kind of held up because not only did he go for that, but then he had the interim title fight that didn't happen. So you got to kind of like move the division forward. This is a way of kind of keeping everybody active, right? And then putting on a big name for a show in Puebla, right? This is a big name. Yep. It draws eyes.
It draws eyes, and we filled up that stadium in Puebla for the first time. Every time we go to a new city, there's not a lot of people. We're the marketing there is kind of unknown. It's a new arena, but we went to Puebla the first time, and it's the first time I've witnessed that, bam, like the stadium was packed, man. And I think that's because of all the work that
even if you went the wrong month.
Yeah, even though we went the wrong month, but it was all the work that Alessandro Costa has been doing down there with jiu-jitsu and MMA with Diego Lopez. They've really built quite the community of MMA.
The Brazilian Warriors team, right?
Exactly, Brazilian Warrior guys. So they're out there, doing a lot of things that are positive in the sport. So I'm hoping to see a nice filled up stadium here in Puebla, coming up next week.
That's one thing people don't. Well, real quick, that's one thing people don't realize about Alessandro Costa. He is so far behind the scenes. It's not just what you see in the cage. He's at cage side with a lot of the up and coming fighters. They just announced the December card with Marco Beltran making a return against Jose Roa. Jose Roa is another one of those Brazilian Warrior guys. Might be new to Luke's Fight League, but he's part of Alessandro's camp. There's just a lot of guys he's pushing that are coming up to the spotlight.
Yeah, I you're right, man. He's putting up a good team out there that's very competitive, and has been putting up some W's on the column. So, but yeah, man, that's what I really like the way the career of Alessandro Costa has been managed. I don't know who manages him or Diego Lopez, but I love how they're able to stay active, pick the right fights, get on the right cards, on the right times. And they've really, he's done a fantastic job. Obviously winning is the most important part, right? In MMA. And Costa going out to Dana White Contenders, not getting the title or not getting that contract is kind of heartbreaking because I think that's just a testament to the styles of fights, right? And because he was fighting just an awkward body shaped 125 pounder, it made for a very a very silencing and just canceling out of styles and that Dana White Contender Series. But that being said, against Carlos Kuriju or Gomez, right? Gomez, he'll be facing a kid that has nothing to lose. So this kid's going to be coming out and throwing hands. I think it's going to be a lot of pressure here for Costa to perform well. I think he needs that. I think we need to see like a spectacular type of a performance from him, and but that's going to come and hopefully Carlos Gomez comes in and he shows up with some fire in his hands.
You know, it's ironic. You talk about the career of Costa. Here's a little parallel, like side note for people. On the Challenger Series on this card, you have Uriel Casillo. Uriel Casillo beat Alessandro Costa way back in 2016 at Max Fights Battle on the Beach. Knocked him out. They're both early in their careers. Casillo is still in the Challenger part. Meanwhile, Alessandro is like one of the kings of MMA. So there's a little parallel for you. And also a possible grudge match down the road if Casillo keeps like building his career back up. But he's coming off a loss his last time out too. So yeah, he needs to get back on his winning track too. So.
And he'll be fighting in the fight card tonight or that same night.
Yeah, he'll be on the Challenger Series.
And what's really interesting about that too is that he's had some ups and downs in his career. Here kind of shifting gears to the Casillo name. He's won some, lost some, and there's some that are like, oh man, he had a really promising future when I first got introduced to him at the LUX. Oh gosh, I don't know, 7 or something. After finding out he was the younger brother of Sergio Casillo. Draco, thank you. And he's been, kind of on the off beats, really, essentially. And it's like he just needs to get a nice win a streak going for him, and but he's a good fighter, has a lot of heart. He's just been caught in many of these situations, but that's the game.
Maybe the fight against David Bento next week is the key. But let's get back to that main card a little bit. On the co-main event, Edgar El Cebollero, say it again for me.
Cebollero,
Delgado versus Walter Lobo Reyes. In that co-main event, both guys have been around LUX for a little bit. What do you expect in this one?
Well, I think Edgar has been one of those, or Delgado here has been.
Speaking of the Casillo name, also the guy who last lost to Draco when Draco missed weight and did the whole Charles Oliveira thing. But yeah,
and it was he Miguel Villegas. He lost to Miguel Villegas, who's was an up and coming guy. I think it was a split decision loss. A really close fight. He's fought a bunch of guys that I feel have been guys that were higher caliber than he was. And he hanged in there. When he fought Pato Martinez, that fight was spectacular. And that was a split decision as well. So this guy's in there. He's grinding it out with some of the best guys in Latin America. He's been doing fantastic, in my opinion. And he's just been on the wrong side of the win column here. That has kind of slowed him a little bit in his popularity, but I think this kid's the real deal, man. I think
other than the Casillo knockout, which was kind of like a sneaky walk-off comeback and sucker punch you knockout, other than that, it was split decision losses.
Yeah. So he's always in the game. He's always in there, hanging in with the best guys there. And he'll be, welcoming this new guy, this Walter Reyes dude that's showing up.
Yeah, I said he's been in LUX. I was wrong. I meant to say he's a familiar face from UWC. He's fought in some other major promotions, NFC, which is a kind of a more South American promotion. So he has a little bit more experience than we were talking about Carlos Gomez earlier. But
yeah, exactly. And not only that, but
I think he's out of Nicaragua.
Is he? I don't know. I was going to ask you that. Is he?
Yeah, fighting out of Nicaragua. 23-year-old kid fighting out of Nicaragua. Huh?
Reyes? You mean Reyes is fighting out of Nicaragua?
Yeah, Walter Reyes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's what I meant. Okay, so yeah, man, that's crazy, man. So we got Nicaragua, we got Paraguay here on the red corners or the blue corners, whichever you want to call it. But
we'll see fight night. We'll see fight night which color gloves they got. But yeah,
exactly. It's either white or black. That's how we do it. But it's really interesting, man. I like to see him fight. I've seen some fights for Walter Reyes. Very interesting fighter. Not a lot of film that we could really analyze on the kid, but he's gonna have a tough welcome party there from Edgar Caballero.
The only time he's been out of the first round, he lost a decision. Almost every fight he has is kill or be killed. He comes in trying to get that finish in the first round. He got knocked out in UWC 33 against Canarte. But other than that, he's on a string of rear naked choke, TKO, TKO, rear naked choke, rear naked choke, rear naked choke, TKO, all in the first round.
Yeah.
So this kid comes out trying to excite and try to finish. And we know Delgado has no back down. He's going to come right at you too. Most recently, you saw it. It was a different promotion, but INF. He got the ground and pound win against Rua. He comes out. He got the TKO finish in the Mandarin fights that got him back into LUX Fight League. So Edgar Delgado is going to come at you. We saw it even in the Casio fight. Like the first couple minutes of that fight were like back and forth, and then of course Casio looks like he's about to walk off at the end of the round. Turns around with a second left in the round and knocks Delgado out. So
that was such an amazing freaking knockout, man.
If that's not a life lesson for you, always defend, always be defending.
That was for sure. No, I was just gonna say, man, that was just like so crazy to watch because he tricked. Not only did he trick the fighter, Cosio did, but he tricked like the entire I think the entire arena was kind of like.
Even the referee was like, "Wait, oh shit."
Man, that's nuts, man. It was crazy.
You and Francisco get ready to go into your notes for the middle of the round.
Yeah, we're ready to talk about the replays, man, of the fights. Wow, finished.
Also on that card, you got Drago Camargo versus Tiger Marquez. What do you expect out of that one?
Same thing, man. Fireworks. Both these guys, guys that we've seen in the past, guys that have performed really well, and given some exciting fights. So, I'm expecting fireworks on those guys.
Jorge Manzano, Cesar Vasquez, 2 LUX veterans, been around for a while.
Yeah,
what you got coming out of that fight?
I like Vasquez, man. I really do. I think Cesar Vasquez is going to pull this one off against Manzano. I'm not sure when's the last time we saw Manzano.
I want to say probably like 4 cards ago. Wasn't too long ago.
Let's see. Yeah, he was last fought at LUX 17. He lost against Pedro
10
Peña.
cards ago, damn.
Yeah, so that was, man, we're just flying with these things. Oh, excuse me, no, LUX 21 when he lost against Gallegos.
That was still 6 months ago.
6 months ago, yeah, man. So both these, I mean, they're always coming in hot, man. These guys. So.
Alex, we're on episode number 30.
It is 30.
And we take weeks off sometimes.
Damn.
But we are flying through. It has been a crazy year since we started doing the show. Probably a little more than a year ago. I think October last year.
Oh,
right?
man.
I think it was
we're
like
doing great.
October last year, right?
I can't remember when the first one was that we did it, but
well, I should be on top of that, being as it's kind of my job.
It's your job,
September
man.
last year, September 16th.
Okay, all right.
So over a year, we didn't even celebrate.
Not bad.
We should have got a piñata.
You should do it. That's awesome, man.
Maybe in a couple weeks. Maybe a couple weeks I'll get a piñata in the background. I'll be like whacking it and see what happens. Rounding out the main card, a fighter I was going to talk about when we had a chance, but the hurricane kind of wiped out last week's episode. Anuar Tarzan Alberto. We talked about him quite a bit. He's fighting Omar Alraptor Gutierrez to round out that main card. This guy is a star. Like, he's on the rise, a star. Every time he steps up, it's exciting. He's now officially 3-0. I mean, who knows how many other fights, but he's a young kid, 24 years old, fighting out of Jalisco, Mexico, and 3 straight finishes in the first round.
Yeah. This kid's
that
trouble,
knee
man.
last time. Oh my God.
That the left kick that turned into a knee that connected beautifully, man. Man. Okay. So this guy's got the body shape where he's tall and lanky, and he is he also is super athletic, man. Like, very, very athletic for his position, for his, for being so young. He's just full of fire, man. And he gets in there and wants to kill you.
I mean, he's
You can
tall. He's
just
like
see it.
6'6".
It's ridiculous, man. It's gonna be problems, and it reminds me of kind of like a young John Bones Jones. You know, he's tall for the weight division. You can't really get him because he's really good at wrestling. You know, you can't really try to make the cage small. You know, he'll out wrestle you or he'll submit you, and if you stay on the outside, he's gonna kick you in the head and knock you out. And Anuar Aburto has that. He's got the talent. He's got the body style for it. Now he's got the commitment for this game, dude, because this game is gonna be it's there for him, dude. He can become a really, really popular fighter in Mexico and be, you know, quite the competitor in the UFC.
I think his biggest challenge is finding opponents. Much like we ran into a Bam Bam Valenzuela.
Yeah.
Like, he's 170 pounds. There's just not a lot of 170-pound fighters out there in that division in Mexico. A lot of lighter guys. Yep. You know, flyweights, bantamweights, featherweights, lightweights. That's pretty much the cap at lightweight. After that, you're talking about bringing people in from different places. I've never seen Omar Gutierrez. Have you? Like, this is another kid that's coming in brand new because they need to find an opponent for a 170-pound fighter.
It's tough, man.
That said, Tarzan Alberto is must-see TV. Like, you got to watch him. So just like Bam Bam, you want to see him every time he steps up, no matter who's across the cage from him. And they're selling tickets. But I think the biggest problem you said is, like, 3 fights in, you don't know how he will adapt to adversity. What happens the first time he gets in trouble? What happens? Everybody, except John Jones and his disqualification, everybody loses eventually.
Right.
And what happens when you face that loss? How do you bounce back? And I think you don't know that until you see it. And you hope a fighter like that never has to experience it, but you know this game can be cruel. So, you know, you yourself were a young hot start fighter going through a bunch of opponents, and then you ran into Michael McDonald. Like,
right.
It happens, and it happens to the best of everybody in this sport. So I hope he doesn't, but I don't think this is the one. Do you?
I don't think so. Yeah, you're right. And it's going to be, you know, something where, you know, we're going to have to get some really good opponents, some high level guys for him. Now, he's only 3-0, you know, so it's not like we're talking like
Nate Diaz is available.
Yeah. Well, it's not we're talking about somebody who, you know, these matchups here, you know, for somebody like him, you know, yes, he's very talented. Yes, he's got a lot of potential. He's only 3-0, man. 3 fights is not a lot, you know, and leading into a very popular sport that's really picking up in Mexico. I think he's gonna find some equal matches. I think he's gonna find, you know, get punched. I always say that it's you always get punched in the third fight, you know. That's, you know, when you first start in your career, it's like, oh, I ran through these guys. It's like, wait till the third or the fourth. That's when they start punching back, you know, because you're on equal playing fields and
different
you start
levels,
growing that talent
up the chain.
Yeah. So then it gets more complicated. So I expect to see that from him. You know, I don't think it's going to be any. How much does his opponent have? How many fights?
Honestly, I can't even find anything on the guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Omar Gutierrez is kind of like I don't know. Like, let me look again, but. So there's a couple. Here he is, 3-3. He's 6 fights in.
Okay, 6 fights in. All right.
Right down in Mexico. He's a little taller, 6'1", not 6'6", obviously.
Oh, I like that though.
Yeah, looks like he's fought a couple times in Jungle, or if that's JFL.
Brazil.
Yeah, but not much. Has a TKO, a couple decisions. He's gotten caught in a couple rear naked chokes for losses.
Okay.
Has some grappling game because his first win was a heel hook, so he knows a little bit about jiu-jitsu. So
yeah, to pull that off in MMA, that's tough, man. That's not easy.
But not much information. We don't know how old he is. We don't know. His last fight was almost or over 3 years ago, 2019 January.
Okay.
So he hasn't even been active in 3 years. He had a canceled fight last year, but hasn't been in the cage in 3 years.
Well, that being said, you know, it's the fact that he's 6 feet. That changes the timing for Anuar, you know, because he's used to fighting these guys in the 5 foot range, you know. So the guys, would you say 6'1"? Is that what it said in the stats?
6'1",
yeah. So that's a significant change there for him. I think hopefully that will that'll make things a little bit sporty for him in that fight, and we'll come back leaving there with some good positive experiences.
Alex can try to build up that fight because he wants you to watch Fight Pass. I think it's going to be just completely demolished.
Okay.
I'll be shocked in a couple weeks if Alex comes back and be like, "Can you believe what Gutierrez did?" I don't see it. I'm gonna be like, "Oh man, another highlight for Aburto." That's what I'm expecting.
All right,
Alex is trying to do Luke's job and hype up this fight.
Hey, if the fight sucks, I'll tell you if the fight sucks, man. But I think
you've gotten yourself in trouble doing that before too.
I'm going to tell you if it sucks or not, but this one is going to be very interesting. I think we've talked about a fight or two where we thought, well, that one's going to be.
I'm waiting for you to run into Kevin Garcia again.
Yeah. Don't get me in trouble with the guys.
Yeah, you're going to sit there and show up to Kevin Garcia. You said my fight sucked last time.
Oh, man, here we go. He'll be fine.
And he watched that episode because he liked it and said something.
Damn.
So you're getting yourself in trouble. I did not put that.
I'm gonna give out your address and your phone number. And I'm gonna fly over there.
All right. Any medical bills are coming out of your royalties.
Yeah, here we go.
I might have to add that clause to the contract. It's like if you get the executive director beat up, then you lose your royalties for that. Also on that card, let's talk about the Challenger Series real quick before we get out of here. A couple exciting names. Cesar Delgado Jr. against Yair Ramirez is the main event of the Challenger Series. We talked about David Bento versus Uriel Castillo. You got Ricardo Hussein versus Alexis Leon. Manuel Romero versus Tano Arellano. Dana Garcia versus Brindis Reyes. Any of those fights kind of stand out to you? Who should we keep an eye on besides Uriel on that Challenger Series?
I'm really interested in that Uriel Castillo fight. Aside from that, Cesar Demoledor Jr. is a guy that we've seen fight several times at 125 pounds. I'd like to see movement in that weight division. So it's very interesting on that one because Calvo and Kike, that fight's happening. And then we're also watching.
Are we going to get that fight rebooked?
Some people say yes. Some people say yes.
We got 3 cards coming up. They're not any of them.
Okay, well, I'm sure it's in the works. Regardless, that fight's going to be awesome. But there's movement at 125 pounds, and that's what I like to see. I'll get the skinny on what's going on with that fight. You're right. You would think that in the next 3 fight cards that would happen, but man, we've had such bad fight cards and everything dropping off the last second, the last 3 events that I think. It's like let's just start fresh. Let's just start with a whole new set of fight cards.
Didn't I hear that Lazy Boy Rodriguez is coming down to 125, or did I hear that wrong?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. That's ladies going to make that cut coming too. In from crossing borders right there. You heard it first here, Mike.
I think you're the news dropper, not I. But before we get out of here, I do want to say a couple things. They have announced a couple other cards on November. They got LUX 28. It's going to be featuring the ladies. You got Victoria Alba defending her crown that she just won. She's going against, of course, Ellie Rodriguez. I had wondered a couple cards ago what happened to Ellie Rodriguez. Why was that fight just canceled? I was excited to watch Elizabeth Rodriguez. Yeah, this is why, because they were putting her in a title fight like a month or 2 later. Yep. You also got Shaka Romo going against Andrea Vazquez for the interim strawweight because, of course, Sarai Orozco is on their contest type show down there.
Some reality TV show, right?
Yeah, they have like Tough Man, kind of like Iron Man not Tough Man, Iron Man kind of comp. Like they're doing all these obstacle courses and all this stuff. Like we have variations of those shows in the US, like Wipeout and all that stuff.
Yeah,
kind of like one of those kind of game shows that she's doing. She won whatever contest she was doing the other day because I saw her. She ran through all the obstacles, got in, but then she was struggling throwing like this disc trying to knock off like the milk cop bottles or whatever. And then she got it like at the last second and won for her team.
Hey, all right.
So she's doing well. And then December, big card to finish out the year, using up all of Alex's frequent flyer miles. He's going back to Mexico. By the way, the November shows in Monterrey. And then Mexico, you got Draco Castillo going against Pitbull Martinez. You got Beltran, who we were wondering if he was coming back. He's back fighting Jose Rora, who does fight for Alessandro Costa's team, trying to bring home another title for the Brazilian Warriors.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of stuff. None of the undercards have been announced for those. So maybe Kiki and Calvo pop on one of those cards. I could see them on the December card, maybe, finishing out the year with a bang.
Yep.
So a lot of stuff for Alex to be traveling to get excited to, and to be talking about right here in Crossing Borders. So make sure you hit that like button and subscribe button. Any final thoughts going into Luke's Fight League 27, Alex?
I got nothing for you here, Mike. I just want to make sure that you're all right. It was scary.
I'm gonna be asking if you're all right. You're the one going down in the storm.
Hey, when I go down there, you make sure that I'm okay. All right.
I will.
Okay. Thanks, man.
I'll send you a text, nothing to come back. I'm like, damn, I got to find another co-host for Crossing Borders. Shit. Who do I know knows Mexican fighters? Shit.
Yeah, tons of us. They're all over the place.
I have a couple, but none quite like you.
Okay.
None quite like Extremo Alex Soto. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you leave a comment. Let us know what you're looking forward to. Give us your predictions on what's going to happen at Luke's Fight League 27. A lot of fireworks going on. Of course, the return of the king, Alessandro Nono Costa. So a lot to look forward to. And, of course, more cards coming up. We'll be back in a couple weeks after Alex. I've learned not to try to book Alex on a travel week. It's a mess for me. It's a mess for him. One good time we got him at the hotel going into the show.
Yes.
Every other time it's been a staticky mess. So
by the pool.
Yeah, we'll leave that alone. We'll catch Alex when he comes back the week after that and get all the results from Luke's Fight League 27. Make sure you follow it. Watch it on Fight Pass. It will be on October 14th next week. So check that out. For Mike Ginn, this is Crossing Borders. That's Extremo Alex Soto. Go get his collection on FightersFirst.shop. We'll see y'all soon. We're out.